2024 Arcata Fire District regular meeting to order. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the board clerk please call roll?
President Loudenslager.
Here.
Vice President Arcata.
Here.
Director Johnson is absent. Director Maynard.
Here.
And Director Mendoza.
Here.
Is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion or comments from the board? Is there any discussion or comments from the public? Since there are no public comments, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Director Arcata.
Yes.
Director Johnson is absent. Director Maynard.
Here.
Director Mendoza.
Yes.
President Loudenslager.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Public comment association reports. Any person may address the district board on any subject pertaining to district business, which is not listed on the agenda. The comment is provided by the Ralph M. Brown Open Meeting Act and may be limited to 3 minutes for any person addressing the board. Any request that requires board action may be set by the board for a future agenda or referred to staff. Before asking for public comments, call for the report from Local 4981 for their monthly report.
Good evening, everybody. I do have 2 things to add and a typo that I just discovered, so I apologize for that. So last month, Local 4981 ran a social media campaign for Measure M. The goal for future ballot measures is to coordinate a more robust campaign with collaboration between all levels of the district. The local does have at its disposal a multitude of political resources through CPF and IFF. And we are eager to be an integral part of all these efforts. I had the opportunity to participate in a special district financing class held by CSDA. This was a great opportunity to further understand how the district's budget is created and maintained and how the local fits into the budgeting process. 2 local members that are duty qualified captains, this is where you're going to find the typo. They filled in for 2 days this month, not for the entire month. 2 days as the duty officer. This position is responsible for overseeing the day-to-day operations for the district, as well as providing command and control for the major emergencies. The 2 additions here, Toys for Tots. So we launched our Toys for Tots campaign. You'll be seeing on our social media feed a bunch of advertisements for it. We have Taste of the Holidays on November 21st from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Arcata Community Center. We'll be having a presence there, looking for toy donations. And the distribution day is going to be December 13th, 14th, and 15th from 9 to 3 in McKinleyville. The location is to be determined. I'll make sure to spread that out. But Jay Sean Fields, one of our engineers, has taken this on and has done a wonderful job with it. We have over 30 locations with toy bins receiving donations, and we still have a handful from last year. He's done a really great job with this. And then the last thing that's in addition for you guys is we have decided to donate from the sales of our breast cancer awareness t-shirts, $500 to the Breast and GYN Health Project here in Arcata. So we'll be making that donation here real soon. And with that, unless there's any questions, I'm not done.
CPF and IFF.
Yes, sir. California Professional Firefighters and the International Association of Firefighters. There are union parent organizations.
And how did the 2 coverage days go?
Well, we go from there.
Got lucky. Nice and quiet, perfect day.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Arcata Volunteer Firefighter Association.
Thank you. Morning, well, it's Arcata, Volunteer Fire Association. Sorry about last month. I wasn't feeling too great, so I thought I should stay home, and I did. Real quick, we had 36 hours last month for the volunteer time. The VLU training was basically rehab setup practice and going through the equipment status on 8229. Make sure everybody knew where everything was. We also supported the fire station open house, which I think was a big success, well attended, and I hope that, we keep doing that kind of stuff. It's important the community has a chance to come in and see what you guys can do and how it works. We only had 1 CPR class last month, so it's been quiet. I would expect probably, but that's about all for the year. Grant activity, 2024 so far, we've were able to get $113,000 in equipment for the district through various grants. And the Bird Foundation funded the $54,000 for the hose, the fire hose supply. I think you guys have already ordered that or got that coming already, which is great. Holiday celebration, I think everybody knows about it, the 14th at Six Rivers Masonic Lodge, 251 Bayside Road, 5:30 social time, 6 o'clock dinner. Representative from Berg will be there. So they've given us a lot of time, a lot of money, and helped us with a lot of it, helped you guys with a lot of stuff over the years. So we should recognize him as possible. We hope to do something for him as well, but the district should say something. We completed they completed all the signatures required, including the notarized option agreement. And I see it's on your resolution tonight to move forward with looking for financing. Just to say it out loud, the ABA fully supports this motion you guys are doing, where you guys are going forward with this facility. It belongs to the district. It should be in the district. Thank you very much.
Roy. Thank you for all the work on the grants.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
You didn't use any letters. I didn't know what they meant.
Is there any member of the public that would like to make a comment at this time? Saying none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are considered routine and are acted upon by the board with a single action. Members of the audience wishing to provide public input may request that the board remove an item from the consent calendar. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes. Is there any member of the public that would like something removed from the consent calendar? Is there any board or public member that would like, any board member that would like anything removed from the consent calendar? Are there any comments from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion in a second.
I'll move to accept the consent calendar.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Director Arcata,
Yes.
Director Johnson is absent, Director Maynard,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
President Lavensliger.
Yes.
Motion carries.
District business. First business item, adopt resolution 24-321, authorizing the fire chief to exercise an option to purchase the downtown Arcata station. We have a staff report.
Sure. At the regular meeting on October 8th, 2024, the District Board of Directors approved an option agreement, attachment 1, with the Arcata Volunteer Firefighters Association, through which the district acquired the right to purchase the real property located at 631 9th Street in Arcata. The district currently leases the subject real property where it operates a fire station. Pursuant to the option agreement, the district has the right to purchase a property for the for the balance due on AVFA's mortgage at the time of closing, which balance was $1,560,246.65 as of September 1st, 2024. By way of the draft resolution, which is attachment number 2, the board would authorize the fire chief to exercise the option, open escrow for the purchase, and close escrow in accordance with the agreement of purchase and sale and joint escrow instructions, a copy of which is attached to the option agreement as Exhibit C. In accordance with the purchase agreement, the district has a 90-day period to conduct due diligence on the real property and secure financing. Despite this time, the district anticipates closing this transaction sooner based on its familiarity with the real property as a longtime tenant of the property, and it's having already tentatively secured the necessary financing. The financing is scheduled to close on December 12th, 2024, so it's imperative that the district conduct its due diligence and, if acceptable, close on the transaction in an expedited manner. The draft resolution states that the action is exempt from CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act, requirements for the reasons stated in the draft resolution. The recommendation from staff to the board is to take public comment, discuss and approve resolution 24-321, authorizing the fire chief to take all necessary actions to exercise the option to purchase the subject real property and such further acts as may be necessary to complete the purchase.
Any questions from the directors? I had one. That was going through the documents that were included in that agenda item. There's a number of places where signatures still need to go on those, and I just was curious about the process and timing. So for executing the option and the purchase and then the lease back, looks like those items.
Sure, I can answer those. So there are some attachments to the option agreement that aren't yet signed, and that's because tonight's action hasn't been completed yet. So if the board approves exercising the option, the next step would be for the chief to sign the purchase and sale agreement. We deliver that to escrow, and then as part of the closing, we would sign the lease back and other documents that would be necessary to close. So the only documents that should be signed is the main option agreement as well as the memorandum of option, which is attached as an exhibit to the option agreement. The rest will be signed later.
Okay, thank you. There any comments from the public? Seeing none. We have a motion. Back to the.
I think I can get the right wording here. Stop smiling at me. I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 24-321, authorizing the fire chief to exercise an option to purchase downtown Arcata station, and further authorize the fire chief to take such further acts as may be necessary to close escrow and determine that the action to be exempt from CEQA.
With the motion in a second, would the clerk please call the roll?
You just want to add in there as well that the last part of the recommendation about allowing him to complete the purchase and do whatever is necessary for that. I think we jumped a line.
Yeah, I see it. And also authorizing the chief to take all necessary actions to exercise the option to purchase the subject real property and such further acts as may be necessary to complete the purchase.
Yep.
Okay. Director Arcata,
Yes.
Director Johnson is absent, Director Maynard,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
President Loudenslager,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thanks, Ryan.
Have a good night.
You too.
District business item number 2, consider accepting the fiscal year 2023-24 financial audit report. We have a staff report.
Yes. So just the background of it, an audit firm, JJA CPA Incorporated, has completed the fiscal year 23-24 financial audit for the district. Their audit team performed the following procedures: looking at internal control evaluation, walkthrough updates, additional audit procedures, validation of accounts. The audit team confirmed during the agency exit interview that there were no reportable conditions or material weaknesses. The fiscal year 23-24 audit is going to be presented to the board this evening. And we elected to have Mr. Arch, who was the lead on it, make the presentation. We can do it via Teams on the Aquas board.
Hello,
Are you there?
everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Joe Arch. I'm the principal at JJCPA. I was the lead auditor on the audit this year. We didn't, like Chief said, there's no reportable conditions this year. There's a communications letter that shows all of the representations that the district made to us about giving us all the information, and that we didn't have any findings or adjustments required to update the financials to the audited balances. In the financial statements themselves, we provided an unmodified opinion, a little bit of new language, but it just means that it's a clean opinion. This year, the district did not provide a management discussion and analysis. And I think it's been 3 or 4 years since that's been provided, but I think because of the changes and everything, we'll leave it up to the district if they want to include it in the future. I'm here primarily for questions. I just want to point out a couple of things as part of this year's audit. With the standards, we're required to perform some additional ratios to determine if the district is viable as a going concern into the future. Those ratios were well above the standard required to be a going concern. So there's no additional comments or anything in our report regarding that. Other than that, those are the only changes from the prior year in the standards that would affect the financial statements that are presented. So if you have any questions, I'm here.
Are there any questions from
I
the
don't.
directors?
I don't have any questions. I was just kind of excited to see this. And I'll talk more about this later, but because I just got back, and this was one of our subjects. So seeing the words, no reportable conditions or material weaknesses, is good.
I have one question about this discussion that you just mentioned that hasn't been done for a few years. And what that is, and whether it's something we should be looking at doing and what it takes to do it.
Yeah, and I think it's primarily because it does take a little bit of time to provide all the detailed information from a management's perspective. I think it's part of what we call as auditor supplemental information, so it's unaudited anyway. But it does provide a little bit of a snapshot into the financial statements so that you can kind of see what the changes were between the 2 years and kind of follow along what the financial highlights for the year were and any changes in the budget and that kind of thing. It's more explanatory in nature from a management perspective. And that's why, as auditors, we can't prepare it. And so it's, we look at it in conjunction with the financial statements and that the numbers are reported the same. So if you know, it's discretionary as to whether you want to present it or not. So.
Okay, thank you. So in a small district like ours without a finance director, is there some formula or format or guidance that the board can look at that tells us when and if we need to instruct our management to add this task to the audit?
I could, since it was presented in the past, and I believe it was the 6/30/2020 report, you can see what the format is, and that way, you know, you can decide if you want to start including again. I think part of it is because you're a small district and it is time consuming. You may, you know, we can put the numbers into the graphs and the schedules and that kind of thing for you, but we can't provide the commentary. So that's the piece that's got to be done by management. But I certainly could show or send a report from the district that has that in it to Katie, and then that way she can get it to the board and you guys can look at it. So.
I would appreciate it if you do that. And then
Okay, I'll do that.
thank you. Are there any questions from the board other than that? Okay, thank you. But yeah, any comments or questions from public? Okay, thank you. And thank you to staff for completing our tasks and getting us through an audit. We appreciate it.
Your first.
Yeah, the first.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to say one thing. First of all, I've known Joe Arch for years. He was the auditor of my previous employer. He's excellent. But one thing I have learned in my career is that you should switch auditors. He's been the auditor since I've been here. I know it's difficult to get auditors. The auditor that the district had before Joe didn't even audit. We had to threaten to sue to get the audit out of her. So I know it's difficult, but just from a standpoint of new chief, new administration, just public policy standpoint, I would encourage staff to look at when you go out to bid for a new auditor, just to see if we could change it up a little bit. I mean, he could come back. It's just having the same auditor year after year after year is kind of,
So we did actually look this year at that, and I don't have the information in front of me, but there was an extension to the contract with this firm. And I don't know if it was this year that this was the last fiscal year, if we have one more with them that we signed on to do, because I guess when it went out to bid last time, there was no other auditors that bid. So I can find out from the contract, but I know we were locked in at least this year, and we might be in next year as well.
and it would be fine. He's excellent. His staff is excellent. It's just from a, standpoint of, just moving it around a little
Throw the
bit.
net out there again and see if anything, because it was, we just could not get another auditor to even.
I'll look and see what that date was associated.
We discussed audits at the training I was at. And one of the topics, and I can give you the book that we were studying out of, the PowerPoint was based off of. And, they were saying that even switching auditors within the same company was okay to do. If you couldn't find another company switching the actual person that does it. So maybe he's got other partners in his firm.
Well, Joe doesn't do it. He usually has people, did they come here to do it? or they-
No, the gentleman that I was working with had a family emergency, so he wasn't able to, so Joe got it at the last minute.
Joe did it himself. I bet he hasn't done it before then. 'cause
Yeah,
he's-
Joe
he
did it
has his
himself
staff.
this time.
I'll give you that paperwork and you can look through it and see exactly what it says.
I don't believe there's an action on our part for this one.
You just need to approve and accept
But
the,
before we do that.
Oh, yeah.
We have, so it came to us today, there was some updated information that, I believe Katie made available to you. These would be considered pages 46 through 48. It's updated information with no consequential information, but it does need to be added in, and it was provided today.
These corrections or additions?
They were correction and addition, I think, yeah.
This just replaces what's in.
yep,
Yeah.
replaces it, yep,
Okay.
and it'll be updated in the minutes.
Anyone want to see it?
There's some copies up
Is
there
there-
if anybody wants to see.
That being said, the staff recommendation to the board was consider the information provided, take public comment, discuss and accept the fiscal year 23-24 update.
Okay, I call for a motion to accept the audit.
I'll make the motion to accept the fiscal year 2023-24 financial audit report
With the,
with the addendum.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, would clerk please call the roll?
Director Arcata,
Yes.
Director Johnson is absent, Director Maynard,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
President Loudenslager.
Yes.
Motion carries.
District business item number 3, approve the purchase and of the removal of the Mad River Fire Station fuel tanks. We have a staff report.
Yes. In March of this year, the Mad River Station took a routine delivery of about 800 gallons of gasoline at its above ground fuel tank. There's 2 tanks behind the station, one's diesel and one is gasoline, and they're about 1,000 gallons, 1,100 gallons. And shortly after receiving the fuel, a staff vehicle was fueled, began running poorly. It was discovered, well, initially we thought we took delivery of bad gas, but that's not what was discovered. It was discovered that the gasoline used in the vehicle had been contaminated with water that had leaked into the storage tank. Upon having the tank inspected by the district's insurance inspector, it was determined that the nearly 40-year-old tank interior had deteriorated beyond repair. Over time, approximately 200 gallons of water had leaked into the tank. This was through rain events over the years. And it finally got to a level that the pickup tube was picking up water instead of straight gas. It was recommended to staff to have the tank pumped out and to discontinue its use. Although we did try to fix it to seal off entry points for the water, the liquid level continued to rise into the tank following each rain event to the point that it was full. And the district's insurance underwriters were contacted, and we opened a claim to determine if the pump out and demolition would be covered. To this date, we are still working through them to see if it's going to, if the cost will be covered. Follow-up discussions with the adjuster indicate that since it was deterioration due to age, it likely will not be covered. However, that being said, they still have not given us official word of whether it is or isn't covered. Due to the rain season starting, it became time critical to pump out and remove the tank to prevent the product from overflowing, causing fuel contamination to the area. We tried many companies, but we were able to get 2 companies and contacted them as licensed fuel removers and transporters of contaminated products. A separate contractor was identified for the actual removal of that tank. In October, the contaminated fuel and tank were removed. Although we have not received the invoice for the pump out and removal, the cost was estimated to be around $17,000 for the pump out, transport, and disposal, depending upon the actual amount of the product that was removed. An additional inspection of the above ground diesel tank at Mad River Station indicated that that tank has also deteriorated and will likely face similar issues with the recommendation to finish off the remaining fuel in the tank and to discontinue its use. The cost of the diesel tank removal may be less, but it's unknown at this time. We're still utilizing it for now because it still has product in it that is usable for the diesel vehicles. It's dependent upon if there will be contaminated fuel to pump out and transport. Based on use, there should be far less fuel to remove. We still don't know if we're going to be covered by the insurance. However, staff's recommending the board consider the information, take public comment and approval of funds not to exceed $30,000 to cover the cost for the emergency removal of the gasoline tank if the insurance does not cover the claim, and the planned future removal of the diesel tank. The funds would come out of the contingency fund.
Any plan to put in new tanks?
So that's a discussion the admin team's been having. We're looking at different options because it'll have to be brought up to current codes if we do that. We all agree, and I believe all the floor staff agree, that it's better to have our own fuel sources on site, specifically like tonight, we have a storm, and if Renner goes down. So I should add that in. We've started using Renner card lock services or Valley Pacific card lock services for gasoline fueling. Once we finish the diesel in the diesel tank, we're going to do that. But we are looking into what it's going to cost and what it's going to take to replace those tanks. Because we do believe it'd be better to have our control of our own fuel in the event of a disaster.
I'm living on the road with a renter station. I've seen it where there's been like lines, 20 cars in each direction lined up, including police cars waiting to get gas, and it can, you know, the power's out for a long period of time. It can.
Well, and I also conveyed it to the city of Arcata, the police department, because there was an understanding with the police department that if there was a disaster, they were able to utilize our gasoline as well in the event of the disaster.
Can we get fuel from the school district? Do they have fuel for emergencies?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. That'd be something worth researching though. But I think ultimately our plan would be to replace the tanks so that we have up to current code as well as our own supply.
I would support that.
And Mad River's the only one that has stored fuel.
So McKinleyville has stored diesel, but does not have gas. So that's a different type of a tank though. It's not, the Convault we had was one that was put in, it's got the metal liner with the metal tank with the concrete liner around it. And the McKinleyville is all steel. Yeah, it's a totally different shape and size.
So two questions that I have, that the only things that run on gas are staffing or staff cars. There's no emergency response
Well,
vehicles that are gas. Well, your trucks are all,
yeah,
they're
the
gas.
duty officer trucks are all gas,
All gas,
plus all of
okay.
our small tools, chainsaws,
Okay.
And small power equipment.
okay.
We don't have any generators that are on gas. They're all diesel.
Is there a maintenance program for the remaining tank at McKinleyville? Like, is that visually inspected or, you know,
So
we
we
don't get into this up there?
So we have been inspected regularly by the county. They have a hazmat guy, but what they do the pump fittings and everything, but everything was internal that was failing, that unless that wasn't part of their inspection. Where it was found that it had failed is around the neck of where the pump pickup tube goes through, and that's where the water was seeping in. That being said, it gets painted every year by our staff to seal it, but it still was able to leak through. Talking to retired Chief Dave White about it, he was around when they were put in. So he said they exceed their lifespan eventually. And unfortunately, you can't see it from the outside. It has to be inspected from the inside. If it's got product in it, we're not seeing that.
Okay, so scheduled maintenance wouldn't necessarily have prevented this.
Not to the best of my knowledge. I think it would have to be drained and have somebody actually put a camera inside, so.
When they came to prep it for disposal, they went to disconnect the fittings on the normal vents, and the whole thing just pulled out. So it just deteriorated that much.
Have you guys started looking at the cost of replacing.
We haven't looked at the cost yet, but we've been discussing it because we're also wondering if there's like Homeland Security grants to be able to have our own supply of fuel outside.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Any questions from the public? We need a motion to approve $30,000 to cover the cost of emergency removal.
So again, I want to clarify that. That's if the insurance doesn't pick up
I understand.
the cost. And also the other side of that is with the diesel tank, that would not be an emergency purchase. We'd go through the standard procedures as far as that, try to get 3 bids and so on.
So I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of removal of the Meadow River Fire Station fuel tanks in the amount not to exceed $30,000 if the insurance does not cover the claim,
Correct.
and the planned future removal of the diesel tank.
Correct.
Is that everything you need in the motion?
I believe so.
But it should be for $17,000, right? Not 30.
Well, so the 17,000 is what was estimated to us for the gasoline. Essentially, what we were looking at was less, so, for the diesel tank. But in the event, we were just making it 30,000, make sure it covered it. We're not gonna spend all of that if it doesn't take that, but we want to make sure it's covered.
But tonight, are we approving just the money for the removal of the gasoline tank or both?
It would be the total amount of what it's gonna take if the insurance doesn't cover the 17,000. We're not gonna, if we don't need to spend that, obviously, we're not. We would come back later if we had to use money to replace the tank.
Or,
Well, that was kind of my point was, should we make it 2 different things? Should we approve the money for the removal of the diesel tank, the emergency removal, and come back later with the 3 bids and approve?
I guess we could do that.
I'm just,
Yeah, if you wanna do that, we could do that. I think that may be the cleanest way to do it, so it doesn't tie them together then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So,
we need to redo these.
so revise it for 17,000 then?
For the, yes, for the gasoline tank. And then, do we do a separate? How do we do it to cover the diesel tank? Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go back,
and then
get
you
the
would come
bids.
back,
We'll
yeah.
go back and get the bids for the diesel tank. So let's just focus on the emergency purchase of.
Do the diesel tank next month or something?
Yeah, yeah. We'll focus on the gasoline, the emergency.
How long is the forecasted, how long is that diesel gonna last? How long will it take you guys to pump through that diesel into that tank?
I would have
Maybe
to
then
prefer
it's in it.
Not very long.
Not very long.
When's the last time we got?
Weeks, 2 weeks,
a
a
couple
month?
weeks ago, I think we took like
Not-
600
not
gallons.
I would say a month.
So we can do it next,
Hopefully, yeah, we can certainly.
because you guys are gonna be using card lock anyway for the time being. We're not gonna hold you guys up by.
Right, no,
Okay.
we're good there. We've got our contingency plan.
Okay.
So,
And you've got diesel in.
and we've got
McKinley,
diesel and McKinley though.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it
And
that
we'll
way.
start the process of looking for vendors or contractors that can handle the diesel tank.
And have we gotten all of our invoices or are we still waiting on one?
I haven't gotten anything from World Oil yet. We got the invoice for the removal of the tank, was
And that was.
$4,300.
Of the tank, just the tank.
Just the tank.
Yeah, the expensive part was the pump out and transportation of the contaminated fuel.
The nearest disposal center is Southern California down by LA.
And we're sure that it's gonna be 17 or under.
I believe their quote was for 12, but it was depending on how much liquid and solids that they
I
had.
can use it for like fuel reduction somewhere. Or just somewhere.
Well,
Versatile. Yeah.
It might be a good idea to make it that for the gas.
For the gasoline.
So we were on the fly, suggesting 20,000 for the gasoline, just to make sure we got our bases covered.
You want to redo the motion?
Yeah, when, what's the question we're asking about?
For 20,
So you're looking for 20 now?
for the gasoline,
For the
up
gasoline
to
tank.
20,000.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
So I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the removal of the Meadow River Fire Station gas tank in an amount not to exceed $20,000 to cover the cost of the emergency removal of the gas tank if the insurance does not cover the claim.
Leave it at that. Yeah. And then we'll report back next month on the findings of diesel removal and going through the bid process.
You got a second?
I'll second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Director Arcana,
Yes.
Director Johnson is absent, Director Maynard,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
President Loudenslager.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Who delivers your fuel?
Valley Pacific, right? Nope.
No.
Redwood.
Redwood Hills.
Redwood. I think.
Item number-
The card, right? Yeah.
Item number 4. Consider the schedule, set the dates and time for the regular board meetings for the 2025 calendar year. Staff report.
Well, it's that time of year again, the end of it. So the board's policy manual addresses dates, times, and location for regular board meetings. Article 7, Section 7.1, it says that regular meetings of the Fire District Board shall be held at the Arcata Fire Station, 631 9th Street in Arcata on the second Tuesday of each month at 5:30 PM. Unless by specific action of the board, state legislation, or governor's executive order. California Government Code, 5495, and the Brown Act, specifically Code Section 54-854, defines regular meetings as meetings occurring at the dates, times, and locations set by resolution, ordinance, or other formal action by the legislative body and are subject to 72-hour posting requirements. California Government Code Section 54-956 defines a special meeting as meetings called by the presiding officer or majority of the legislative body to discuss only discrete items on the agenda under the Brown Act's notice requirements for special meetings and are subject to 24-hour posting requirements. The requirement of the law is that regular meetings not be deviated from, or regular business and that regular non-urgent business not be dealt with during a special meeting. As such, staff recommends directors consider the dates for 2025 regular board meetings presented in attachment 1. The 2025 meeting dates are being presented in advance of the new year to allow directors and staff time to consider their personal schedules for next year, as well as plan ahead for any dates they are aware they will not be present for any other reason. Dates can be changed prior to adoption of the schedule. Following adoption of the resolution, regular meeting dates cannot be changed and replaced with special meetings. That being said, we were chatting about this, that the November meeting is November 11th, which is Veterans Day for next year. So you don't have to make a decision tonight on the meeting or the resolution. However, we're hoping you'll discuss about moving the regular November meeting to a different date, just so that it's not falling on Veterans Day. We have a few dates in mind that might work, but we'll leave that to you as well.
What dates do you have in mind?
We were looking at the 12th, the day after Veterans Day, would be ideal because that's close in the sense of, it's close to that date. If we did it before that, we're compacting 2 meetings close together. So trying to get the, whatever issues we have that come up during that time frame would be tight, trying to get everything done. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, is the 11th the federal holiday or is the 10th the federal holiday?
The 11th
Is the federal holiday?
Yeah, I thought the same you did. I thought
Yeah.
Monday was the day, and it's actually, it falls on the 11th of November.
I think it says it shall be observed on the 11th day of the 11th month.
Yeah.
To coincide with the armistice saying.
Because the 10th is the Marine Corps birthday.
Yes, it is.
Testy polar.
So, as I said, you don't have to take action tonight, but I would encourage a little discussion on it, and then next month we can bring that back.
When I was looking through this, I caught that as well. And was doing some research on my own, Google, asking around to different places. I liked your idea of holding it on the Wednesday. I believe it's by the MOU, it's a holiday for Q4. right?
The 11th.
Yeah,
11th
yeah.
would be.
I don't think it'd be very good to have you guys come in on holiday. I'm also wondering how it would, just look to.
Right. That was one of
The
our
general public.
concerns, is we didn't want it to seem disrespectful to veterans. Anyway.
Exactly.
Have we not had a month? It seems like there was a time that we didn't have a monthly scheduled meeting or we canceled.
We've canceled a few over the years when we didn't have anything. The staff would request, I think there was a December meeting once, and, when it was slow and there wasn't anything, and staff didn't put anything on the agenda, so we did skip it.
And I think there's been a meeting skip in the summer. I think it's like in August, July or August.
Yeah.
Having meetings, only once a month, that is kind of a stretch. sometimes.
Yeah, and it, with July being close to July 4th, I mean, I didn't know if we had any reason to skip a month in 2025, because I don't think we skipped a month in 2024.
I wouldn't plan it because there could be something that comes up.
Yeah, no, I can we just make it for the Monday?
You could.
Would that work?
You could.
The 10th?
That would do.
Can I make a recommendation? Let's let staff recommend it, because they're the ones that have to come and make their schedules work, and, I think we should let staff come back and tell us what day works best for them.
I'm comfortable with that. Okay. So you'll,
As long as we can get a quorum,
Better.
There's
at our next meeting, you'll
only.
bring back your preferred date.
Sure. Yeah, we'll do that.
Well, we had the discussion that you wanted us to have.
Sure. Yeah,
Now, I mean,
that's given us direction, so we can do that.
So the two obvious replacements would be the Monday or the Wednesday, the before and after, okay.
we have a,
Yeah, right.
Roy Willis, Volunteer Association. The 11th would be our normal business meeting for which we would have a big dinner, and it would be here. But we could reschedule and do something else, but that would be our business meeting date for November next year.
the 11th.
The 11th.
On Veterans Day?
The Wednesday,
On the, well, the 12th is next Wednesday,
the 12th of Wednesday,
12th of 2025.
and every month.
So,
Wednesday,
so you're saying your meeting would be on Wednesday, the 12th?
second Wednesday of the month.
Okay,
Okay, so that would interfere.
Monday.
so Monday would probably be a better
That
day.
was.
Thank you.
Get her someplace else.
No, that's good information, because we have
That's what they need to know.
days.
Cool, we'll bring that back then.
We just, still need to, still important.
Approve the resolution.
Yeah, so we're good on this one.
We are done with our district business and correspondence and communication.
I'm sorry, before we move on, just as board members, is everybody still okay with, so they know, nobody has any problems with the second Tuesday of the month? Right? Because that's the overall what we're doing, right?
That's what we normally do, yes.
Right, but we have to, yearly, we approve that
Correct.
second Tuesday of the month, so not only are we doing Monday, but I mean, everybody should say that they're still okay with the second Tuesday of the month, so staff is only dealing with that one November.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I am too.
I'm good with everything else, yeah.
That makes
I've scheduled all my skiing, so I only miss the meeting in March. That was around having a meeting Tuesday.
Yeah, right.
Second Tuesday.
That's right.
Let's,
Gotta make sure it
let's
stays the
not-
same.
let's
Yeah,
not
no,
change
don't rock the
that.
boat if it's working. That's exactly right.
Okay, can I move on? All right, thank you. Correspondence and communications. We got a note to the chief thanking him from a local business that apparently had some alarms. And they were having alarms going off, and the staff helped them address that issue, and they wrote a note thanking us. That was the only communication for this month. Committee reports. Are there any fire station, PVFA, budget committee, or chief evaluation committee reports?
Just speaking on behalf of the subcommittee on the fire station, I just want to thank everybody for getting this done. Took a long time, but I'm glad it's moving forward, so it's much appreciated. No other reports.
Budget committee and the chief evaluations committee has nothing to report. And I will also thank the subcommittee and the AVFA and the staff for completing all the documents and getting ready to transfer the ownership and the responsibility for the station to the district. That chief's monthly report.
Okay, some of this, I got excited about, talking about it last month before we had coming up, but, as Roy mentioned, we had Fire Prevention Week open house, and we had a great turnout from, staff, from, the VLU, AVFA members, from family members of staff showed up and helped out quite a bit, and then vendors, it was amazing having so many of the vendors there to help out with our allied agencies. And I think I've probably said this till blue in the face, that we found out that if you put 2 helicopters down in the middle of McKinley, people will show up. But what you do to keep them there is you bring the dogs in. I kept the crowd there, and it was great. We had a really good time with it. It was fun. The weather was amazing. And, yeah, everybody put in a lot of work that day. I want to commend Katie because she was actually the one that got everything dialed in for us. So, yeah, that was awesome. We received a proclamation from the city of Arcata on October 3rd, recognizing Fire Prevention Week. That was nice. We've had a number of fires around Timber Ridge up in McKinleyville, and Captains Reinschmidt and Allen were on duty one day, and after about the 4th fire in less than 24 hours, 4th or 5th fire in 24 hours, with their locating someone that was in the area and then also finding a witness. The sheriff's office was called out and arrested an individual for lighting numerous fires around the building.
Goodness.
So, I did 2 radio spots in October, specific to Halloween safety and daylight saving time. Getting a lot of feedback about hearing us out there, and they like hearing us in the public on the radio and so on. So that's been positive. Assistant Chief Peabody started on October 14th and hit the ground running. He's been hammering out deferred issues such as our communications infrastructure, our training program, career paths with crews, and policy and evaluation revision. We have selected 2 candidates for the vacant fire engineer positions that we have, and they're getting very close to being completed on their background checks right now. So as of right now, it looks like we're continuing forward with them, and we're anticipating their start date. We've been talking with Marcus and Tony and staff about the academy format for them and getting them on board. So that's gone well. I mentioned the Humboldt tank at Matador Station was condemned. I won't touch on that anymore. Standards of cover update. So over the last few weeks, we've had a couple of meetings via Teams with City of Arcata, Cal Poly staff, and ourselves with the standards of cover folks. It is behind schedule, and they said that was from the data gaps that they had from our dispatch center, trying to get it out of that so that it fit the report, and that really held things up because they need that data to show GIS, where we're responding to our response times and so on. We always talk about our overall response time, but they break it down into dispatch time, turnout time, en route time, overall response time, and they didn't have that middle portion that really kind of messed up their program or their report. So anyway, that being said, they intend to have the draft of the study by December. And David Rocha, who I've been working with, he is hopeful that he will have a technical review ready for staff to take a look at it by the end of November. They did not want to go into the holidays with this. Notable training, Assistant Chief McDonald, he is attending the Bay Cities Leadership Academy with other folks from local agencies. City Manager of Arcata is attending that. Who are the instructors? Karen Deemer and
Can't think of the guy.
Will Folger?
Yes.
Yeah. So retired city manager and, from Arcata, and Will Folger, who is the personnel director from the city of Eureka, are the lead instructors on it. This is the second or third year they've had this academy. But he's attending that with the folks. Business Manager Hill, she attended the CSDA Board Clerk Conference and relayed that there was a plethora of valuable information for her. Great that we're putting the folks to the training. I won't go over all the incidents, but I'll say we have had more animal rescues. So we're getting really good at cat rescues. We did have an incident on Second Avenue in McKinleyville. It was multiple buildings on fire. They were detached buildings, but it did damage a house. No injuries. It was undetermined what the cause was, but yeah, I pulled out of my driveway here in Arcata and I could see the column from my house. So it looked impressive. The crew that got on scene first, I believe, was Marx's crew, and they knocked the tar out of it. So they did an excellent job. And because of that, it probably saved the rest of the house. It did have some damage, but they minimized it. I don't know who did the childbirth.
Here's John and Neil. I believe it was John Evenson and Neil Butler.
Okay,
Where was it? I want to hear about this.
I don't know.
Which childbirth? We have one too.
You did?
Yeah, on Spear. You're talking about that. I think that's the one that's.
Yeah, in a car.
On that one.
And why?
That's always exciting. That's good.
Yeah, it was actually not supposed to be our fault, 'cause it's not in a response area, but the other engine was tied up on something, so we got there and got flagged down by the father. And it was his wife's second baby. The first baby they had at home planned. The second baby was supposed to go to the hospital, but they had it in the vehicle.
Great.
So yeah, baby was healthy, and ambulance showed up after that, so it was a best case scenario for, we go to these things a lot of times and it's not a good situation when they're not born in the hospital under normal conditions, so.
Well, it must be super cool though when it does work out.
Oh, yeah, yeah, well, you know, that at least they weren't freaking out too bad, and the dad kept asking me, like, we're sure, he's like, it's the most normal thing, right? Yeah. In a car?
So you had two of these in 1 month.
I guess so.
And that's the first I've ever heard since my time on the board.
Yeah.
This has happened.
Did you offer a name for the child?
No, no, it was pretty straightforward. No, that's funny. I didn't think of that. No.
And that's right on. Good. I'm glad it worked out. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's great.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, and then we had an engine and Chief Peabody went to Blue Lake for an excavator that had rolled over on someone and pinned them. Had a positive outcome, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we got lucky.
Yeah.
It worked out for him, yeah.
But it was based on the discussion, it sounds like it was very critical, or, very,
Close to being.
yeah, it was critical, but,
That seems like something where you're either perfectly okay or.
Yeah.
Or.
So-
Yeah.
let's see, so as far as different types of aid, our aid given, we went out of our district twice and, we received, aid once. Our overlapping calls were actually down a little bit this month. It was a little over 21, almost 22%, which, trending for the month, for the year, we were mostly right in that 28 to 30% range. And our average response time is sticking around 4 minutes and 23 seconds, which is still really good. 16 total fires, 175 medical responses, medicals and rescues. with a lot of good intent calls, which those good intent calls can be, considered medical aids that we get canceled before we get on scene. Apparatus vehicle out of service time, our type 3 wildland engine failed its pump test, so it had to go get some repairs done to it. And it's since been repaired and passed all required tests. The reserve engine came back today, correct?
Yep.
And I didn't get a report from you, but it sounds like it's all fixed.
Yes.
Perfect. It's been out of service since middle of October, so we got it back and it's back in service. We received notice from AVFA that the Berg Foundation awarded $54,000 for a grant through them for hose. We had budgeted for the hose, however, this is gonna put it will create relief for our budget on that. So what we're thinking about doing is looking at some different, or replacing some other aged equipment that we haven't been able to deal with. I mentioned this is a community risk reduction and outreach. Mentioned the fire prevention. One thing I will say, during our open house, we were able to give out 40 smoke alarms, combination smoke alarm and CO alarms at our open house. Those were grant funded or donated alarms, so it was a no cost item for us. And it was great to get it out to the public. 4 dogs were adopted directly. They were, the animal shelter, they were so happy because that event got 4 dogs placed, so.
Take 10 smoke detectors, get a dog for free.
Exactly. So we do more than just fight fire, we get dogs adopted too. We had an engine, I believe it was Marcus with the Pacific Union School Carnival, and that was a hit. Having that there, we typically go to that, but it was a good event. And we've had some, like, it's the Little Fishers Learning Center came and visited the station, and we attended the Two Feathers Community Block Party on the 19th. And you can see what our posts have been, social media posts have been. Lots of feedback. We're getting a lot of positive response on that.
Who's doing this?
Between the team, it's Katie, myself, Ross, and Chief Peabody coming up, and then the suppression staff are providing content.
Great.
Fire marshal's report. He was gone for about half the month. It's his annual exodus to the north. So it was a little bit lower than normal, but you can see that he had a number of inspections, construction inspections, and did a number of plan reviews. Our inspector's monthly report, it's been R1s, R2s, which are hotels, motels, and he's also doing school inspections. So although the numbers might be down when we see his final numbers on that, because those are mandated inspections we have to do. So we should, by next month, have his totals in. That's where we're at.
I have one question on the fire marshal's monthly report. And things like the top one where it says building projects, and then it has a count. And then there's another column over there. And I'm trying to figure out how, if the plan review 7, and then it said agency services provided to type of project, and then it shows a 0.
Right. So
So,
I asked him about it because I was confused as well. His count is his total counts of however many plan reviews or building projects that he's working on, or construction inspections. The right column under agency services provided to and type of project is who he's doing them for. Like if it's a building code project in the city of Arcata or the county of Humboldt, or we have a contractor agreement with Samoa Fire and Blue Lake Fire that he does theirs as well. So he enlightened me on that today because I was confused by that as well on his numbers.
so who did he do them for if it says 0?
That I don't know. I would have to go back and ask him who it was for.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't, I would have to go back and ask him
okay.
who it was specifically.
I'm asking more because as a director, I should be able to answer any questions.
Sure,
from the
numbers
public.
don't add up there, 7 and 0.
I should be able to understand what's there.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the reserve engine.
Uh-huh.
Is that a Ferrara?
Yes.
And so we sent one Farrar to Alabama, so does that mean we have two Farrars left?
Three left,
We had four, didn't we?
yes. And now we have,
Or actually we had five, the old 39 was a
oh,
Farrar.
right, yeah,
So I'm just trying to keep,
The,
so we have two mainline Farrars now.
Right.
And this one is dead, so this is the second dead Farrar, or is this back on the?
it's back in service.
the biggest delay was waiting for parts to show up.
But it had a whole punch list of things that had to be fixed. The cab, that was cab bushing. The cab was actually shifting and rubbing against other components of the motor. So it had to have new bushings put in for where, when it tilts and things like that.
When's the Pierce gonna be, build the, if they're building?
Well, we haven't even been put into the queue yet, but, initially they said 29 months and that was in March. Did that,
March, April.
March or April, so 29 months, 2 years beyond. We're looking at 2 years. We probably
It's gonna
need to
be
be
tight.
thinking about the next one after that.
Well, yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Planning.
Yeah.
District part planning, because are these Ferraris gonna last another 4 years?
I
think so.
Yes, they have to.
They have to at this point. That or we need to,
Yes.
yes. I will say Chief Peabody is working on a capital improvement plan, involving the apparatus as well, so. Those are some of the things we're looking at.
Because I've actually been here. Here, I've seen the water tender running first out calls because all the Ferraris were dead, and that was like a couple of years ago, and
Yeah.
nothing's getting better.
But you can't buy them all together.
Right, that was.
Never again.
Never again.
They definitely need to be staggered.
Yeah.
Okay,
Room. Director matters. Any of the directors have any comments or topics they would like to discuss at this time, keeping in mind that no action will be taken on topics discussed. However, a director may ask the president to agendize a future topic. Director Arcata would like to summarize his training for us.
So in the beginning of November, the 3rd through the 6th, I attended the California Special District Association's Special District Leadership Academy. And that covered 4 what they call modules. Module 1 was government foundations. Module number 2 was setting direction and community leadership. Number 3 was the board's role in finance and fiscal accountability. And the 4th module was the board's role in human resources. We actually have a study booklet that big. And you can see I've made several tabs. I think President Launcelogger also had some same things tabbed when he came back. But it was a very good training. I made some good connections with other board members, general managers. Most of them were special community services districts, so they have chief, they have general managers. General managers, I met a fire chief from Tiburon. I met a board member of a fire district, the Fallen Leaf Fire District, which Director Emmons and I will be helping out with some chief hiring. I'm sorry, Chief Emmons. Chief Emmons and I will be helping out with some chief hiring. Apparently, they're gonna be hiring a chief in the near future. And he was asking about how different the process, and I knew that we had just gone through that, so Chief Emmons and I will be helping him out. Very informative class, very knowledgeable presenters. They ranged from CPAs, talking about accounting and getting the accountings, the district accountings done. Attorneys that talked about employee matters, basically telling directors to stay in our lane, what our lane was, and to let the managers do their job and not get in their way. And I did earn a certificate Where am I? Where am I? But it was, I did bring back some paperwork, some pamphlets. They had different pamphlets, different classes that aspiring leaders can take in an organization. If anybody wants to have any copies, I brought copies back. We can make more copies. We can also get them off the websites. I did bring back copies for the 2 assistant chiefs if they were interested. I don't see why we can send captains to this. There was forms for if we want to become a district of distinction. And there are other certificates that if I were to take 10 more hours of continuing education online, I could get, which I do plan to do. But it was a good training, and anybody that's interested, I think they would be kind of useful. Do you have any questions?
Anything from,
I have one.
go ahead, pardon me.
And I do have one other thing. Captain Lillard last month talked about how it would have been nice at one call to be able to provide some advanced life support services. Not about running our own ambulance, but about just providing those extra services. And I was going to ask you if, and the rest of the board, if maybe you guys would mind if we put it on the agenda for next month to maybe discuss forming a subcommittee to look into that.
If we wait until the study is through, we get through the standards of coverage study.
That might give us some good
I think
information.
that would be
Yeah.
the cart before the horse, maybe, if we don't.
And that might give some more better information too, right? So, yeah, that's fine.
I think it's something that needs to be discussed. Marcus convinced me that especially for McKinleyville. It's interesting because I was in Fortuna, I saw 8 ambulances parked down in, or was it in Garberville or somewhere, and there was like, and then I came by up here in Arcata and there were 2. I'm wondering, is that normal?
I think they have a base right
I
there.
think it was Fortuna, it was the Fortuna base and there was like 8, I counted them, 8 ambulances, and it's the same company and there was 2 here.
Yeah, I've seen that base, yeah.
Just wondering.
So maybe I'll bring it back up again sometime in January, February then, after we get the standards of coverage done. That's
I had 2 things. Everything in the welcome, Wayne. Glad to have you. Appreciate you coming. Welcome to our community. If you need anything, let us know. We're here to be of service.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. And I noticed we have a different video set up here. I like it. Looks great. Are the citizens seeing the same thing on their end?
They will when we post it.
Great.
So it's recording right now. We had to utilize this setup because we had Joe come in for
Yeah.
the Teams meeting, so.
Oh, excellent.
I think, this is gonna be our future format. This is the great improvement. I should acknowledge that the OWL device that was provided, loaned to us is from the Humboldt County Fire Chiefs Association. So we're looking at getting our own.
So there's cameras and speakers and, why aren't you the president? I mean, you could keep.
Not of the county fire chiefs.
Oh, okay. Like the perpetual trophy, it goes.
Yeah.
And then where was it finally decided that we were going to upload our videos to?
What's the,
So they upload to my OneDrive on here, but then we send them to Access Humboldt.
Access.
Who formats them, sends them back to us, and then we post them on the website.
Access.
Access.
Director Maynard, do you have any?
I'm good. Thank you.
So I have one announcement, and that is, before our next meeting, December 9th, I'm giving a presentation to Ollie, the Hoosier Lifelong Learning Institute that is going through, Humboldt, Cal Poly Humboldt. And, the chief is going to join me and Captain Willard is going to join me And we'll give a PowerPoint presentation on planning for the future.
Interesting.
And I'm actually gonna cover some history of how we wound up with the fire district and the legal setting of what special districts are, and counties and cities in the state of California, and some funding for fire districts, and what taxes we can't charge, and where we get our money from, and various propositions that handcuff us, so to speak, or put constraints, and then talk about, we don't have I was hoping that the standard of coverage would have been done so we could use information recommendations from there, but I will be presenting a bit on what we anticipate and what typical staffing is in rural college towns around both California and western United States, and then a little bit of what we're looking at for capital improvements and financing. So, yes.
President Loudslayer, I failed to mention something in my chief's report. It's pretty big, actually. I hadn't put it in there because at the time I had drafted this was prior to the election, but I should say that we were successful with major end. So, that should be acknowledged as well. And
Yeah.
thank you to the union for doing their significant part that we can't do.
And I noticed Nealon's passed.
I don't know.
And, I mean, I thought I saw that Nealon's passed, and I thought I saw that Nealon had a 3% cost of living built into it.
It only has 300 voters.
It's still 2/3. With that,
We have 34,000.
we have a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
We're adjourned.